Well, I told you I had a surprise. And as you know, this movie that we're about to make is a love letter to 1984, just as today is a love letter to 1984. And in making this movie, we found something kind of extraordinary. We went to Sony and we said, you know, we'd really love to get back into the original dailies from 1984. Do you still have them? And we found them. They were in a mine in Kansas, and we shipped the boxes to Burbank, and we've been going through the footage for reasons I cannot tell you. But along the way, we found some really cool stuff. And let's go ahead and roll some of the first piece of footage that we found.
I have to make a full report. These men are consummate snowball artists. They use sense and nerve gases to induce hallucinations. People think they're seeing ghosts. And they call these bozos who conveniently show up to deal with the problem with a fake electronic light show.
You're using nerve gas?
The man is a psychopath, Your Honor. It's probably a mixture of gases, no doubt stolen from the army.
We don't steal, Your Honor. If we needed nerve gas, we'd make it ourselves.
Fake electronic light show.
Everything was fine with our system until the power grid was shut off by Dickless here.
They caused an explosion. Is this true?
It's a fact, Your Honor. The man has no genitalia.
Oh, wait, come on. Hey, break it up.
Get him out of here.
Fine.
This way, Mr. Peck.
I'll fix you, my friend.
I'm going to fix you.
I want to have you over for lunch. Now, what do you need from me? What do you got?
How incredible is that? Those are original dailies. That's the stuff that didn't make the film. Okay, first question. How do you not put the nerve gas joke in? That's amazing. We wanted nerve gas, we make it ourselves? How did that get cut?
I'm a terrible director. It's like yesterday, I went to the screening that hopefully many of you went to, and for the second movie, and I'm sitting in the side, just at the beginning, and I'm watching the commercial that we shot for the second movie, and I'm laughing my ass off, and I'm saying, this is great stuff. How is it that you didn't do that? And you know, the secret is that there was great things happening every single day. When you work with Harold, when you work with Bill, with Danny, and everybody else, Rick Moranis. I mean, these are like, extraordinary comedy geniuses that I was talking about this earlier, where suddenly something will come and you can feel it sort of coming through the ether. I always thought my job was to sort of encourage that, to be like a good audience member in the theater or on the stage, and just make them feel comfortable about doing whatever they're going to do. And long before, because we were shooting film, it's not like today with video, it doesn't cost much. It costs a lot every time that thing rolls, and it only goes for about 8 minutes, and then you have to reload, and that takes another 5 or 10 minutes. So footage is important. So I learned to speak really quickly while we were filming. And so as we got to the end, or if they flubbed or whatever, I would encourage, hey, go back to the top, or go back to this line and start, except this time, be much more angry on this one. And I just made stuff up to sort of, because I could see that particularly Bill just needed some kind of impetus to push his improvisational skills sort of in new place.
Was that the original? Was the original line, "This man has no genitalia," and then you changed it, or was that him riffing on set? Do you remember?
I think the Dick line actually happened early,
Yeah.
and he got tired of saying, and that could have even been the television coverage, because then we worried about things like that.
That's right.
So I think that was his. That seemed to be the cleanest way we could say that.
All right, let's go to the next one.
Woo! Gozer the Traveler. He will come in one of the pre-chosen forms. During the rectification of the Veldrani, they chose a form from that of a large and moving Torah. Then, of course, in the third reconciliation of the last of the Meketrek supplicants, they chose a new form for him, that of a large, giant slore. Many Shubs Zuls knew what it was to be roasted in the depths of the slore that day, I can tell you.
ON-22, take 3, 2 cameras, 2 prints.
Hey!
Silent marker. What did you say your name was?
6, 2 cameras, 2 prints.
What sign are you waiting for?
Gozer the Traveler. He will come in one of the pre-chosen forms. During the...
2 Baker 1.
Listen, usually I'm very psychic and I have this terrible feeling that something awful is gonna happen. I'm afraid you're gonna die.
You have nice clavicles. I'll get it. Hello? Thanks, I've got it.
Egon, it's Peter. I've got news from the world of Gozer.
What is it, Peter?
Do you remember Dave Barrett, that attractive cellist?
Yes, how is she?
I had to give her 300 cc's of Thorazine just to get to nap. She says she's the gatekeeper. Does that make any sense?
Some. I just met the Keymaster. He's here with me now. I think that would be extraordinarily dangerous.
Just keep him there. I'll be there in a while.
Good. Thank you. We have to find Ray. I need him here immediately. Good.
Okay, first I'm going to point something out that I think I may have been the only person who could see because I have this angle on you and no one else does. There's something that I grew up watching my father do on set, and he's done it ever since I can remember, and he does it to this day. And when he's directing an actor and he's at the monitor and he's watching the actor do the performance, if you look at him, he's acting with them. And he's doing the dialogue with them because he's encouraging them. That's what we want as a director. We just want to will them into the performance. And you just start to see the lips move, and then the eyes start to move, and pretty soon he's doing the acting. And I was watching you watch Rick. And by the time you got to the word slore, you went slore, like you were actually like doing the words with him. And it was just so wonderful for me to watch that.
I never knew I did that until we started having video crews, you know, to do. I didn't know I did that, and no one was nice enough to tell me. And then I started looking at some of the behind-the-scenes footage. I'm looking at myself. I said, "This guy's nuts. What's he talking about? Why is he moving his lips?"
So one of the best things about those clips is to watch Rick go in and out of character. I mean, isn't that kind of extraordinary? Like, we're so used to seeing him possessed, and it's one of these magical things, and it's something, you know, it's easy to forget that this is an all-star team. Like, you would be lucky to have any one of these actors in a movie, let alone the entire group. And watching Rick go from just being himself, and then all of a sudden he's possessed, I was wondering, how did you direct that? What was that like? Did he... the way he brings his like cheeks up and the thing he does with his eyes, is that something you worked on together, or he just showed up day one and was like, oh, I guess that's it?
I'd like to take credit, but I can't. He's a really fine actor who would, I think, in a situation like that, studied himself in a mirror and sort of really worked out a real characterization for it. And you know, he presented a number of things at the beginning, but as I was explaining in the earlier panel, when I finally told him that he was gonna, when he read the script and he was gonna do it, I said, look, we don't really have a character. We just know, look, we talked to John Candy as the guy first, and so, you know, Rick is so different than John in terms of what he would have brought, what he brings to the character. He just built it piece by piece in his physicality, in his voice. One of the first things he found was that voice. Do you know that thing that... That was pretty bad.
That was pretty good.
But he, it's what he brought, and it was... one other thing I should point out, this is just a tiny, tiny little sliver of the footage. I mean, we only received this about a week ago. I think this last footage was transferred, I think, on Thursday.
We got it yesterday. You know, I should point out for 1 second. Hey, Nate, where are you? Nate, just stand up for a second. Nate is one of the editors of the new film, and he is the reason why we have this footage here today. He put it together. And thank you. He literally was cutting 3 hours ago back in the office to make sure that we could have it.
Yeah. So these are kind of random, and that's why we don't even have, because, I mean, this is from 35 years, it's 36 years ago, and we don't have all the books and everything that tell you exactly what take and what happened on the take, and so we had to do a lot of digging, and Shelley Kahn also helped, who cut the original film, and in terms of finding just a little bit to try to find something that could be a treat for all of you.
Thank you.
The clavicles line.
How is it that I didn't use that?
The clavicles line. It's a killer.
I know. Look, we were running really quickly, and we just wanted to make sure the story was going to work. And so we were so thrilled in that February screening that I was talking about. Oh my God, the whole thing is working, and it's funny. And the Marshmallow Man works.
Right.
You know, it was very easy to lose, but there was 20 other things. You know, so it's getting all that down and not overbearing. It's a wonderful in a situation like this.
Right.
But if you put everything in, I think it finally starts to actually crush the whole a little bit.
Right. I don't know. I think there's an audience here for like a 4-hour version of this movie. The Lawrence of Arabia Ghostbusters movies. All right. Make it 5. All right. Let's go to the next one. I just want to make sure I get the list right. Oh, yeah. Okay. You'll be happy. Let's go to the next one.
28, take 3, 2 cameras, 2 cameras.
Action!
Please let me. Something's gonna happen in here. I want it to happen to me first.
That's the closet.
They hate this. You like to torture them. They hate this. I love to torture them. 28 apples, 4, 2 cameras, 2 prints.
You know, you don't act like a scientist.
They're usually kind of stiff.
You're more like a game show host.
Is the kitchen in here?
Yes.
Okay. Let's get down to business.
You bet.
I'm curious when each one of them found their character. I find that, you know, when you make a movie, you have this idea in your head. You've already been working on it. And in this case, you've been working on it with 2 writers who are going to end up acting in the movie. So they're figuring out their character along the way. But with them, with Bill and Sigourney, was it day 1? Was it day 5? When did you know? When did you just realize? Oh, they know exactly who these people are.
it was pretty amazing to watch the two of them together, really from the first scene that we shot. They just had this immediate chemistry. I'm so happy we're talking about Sigourney because we never got a chance to talk about her in the last thing.
Oh, you didn't talk about her audition?
Her audition.
Oh,
And,
this is good.
I think she came in, and we didn't audition many people. So I had seen her, I think she was in Year of Living Dangerously, and Alien, I think she had already done. And she came in, and she was very smart about the script. And this was a very early draft of the script. And at some point, right away I could see there's a kind of bearing about Sigourney that I kept thinking of her as the Madame Dumont of sort of my particular group of Marx Brothers. And, you know, there's just an intelligence about her and an ability to sort of take the joke, but still be the most mature person in the room. And she suddenly turned to me and she said, you know, I think I should get possessed. I mean, she didn't have the part yet. She didn't say I should. She said that Dana should get possessed. And I said, what do you mean? She said, no, I think I should become a dog. And then she climbs on my coffee table and she goes on all fours and she starts howling like a coyote and like a dog and panting. And then she suddenly very daintily gets back and sits on the couch and says, it would be good. I really think it's necessary for the story. And I said, you know, we didn't know what we were doing in the last act of this movie. We didn't know quite. We knew we had a keymaster and a gatekeeper, whatever that meant. And it was somehow it had to do with those two characters on the same floor. But we didn't know how that was going to consummate, literally, and be shown on film. And as soon as she left my office, I called up Harold and I said, you know, this actress Sigourney Weaver, by the way, I think she better be Dana Barrett. She's perfect. I think she just talked about being possessed. And don't you think that's a good idea? And we really wrote this whole last sequence with them. And it all came out of that. And that was the good fortune of this movie. All kinds of really smart people came up with really good ideas. And I think we were smart enough to act on it and act on it quickly.
The next clip, this is a scene that I had never seen before. It's not, this is not like other alternate takes. So I have no idea what this is. I'm just hoping you can explain it.
Alan Martin.
Okay, now so this feels like it's out of one of my like indie films, not one of right?
And thus it didn't end up in the movie. I couldn't tell you what it was. We had all this crap around and I was always looking for little transitional pieces. And I think it was probably something, I can't remember, it's 35 years ago.
But how does that device work, Dad?
When you push the yellow button.
All right, fair enough. All right, we got one more, and this one's a killer. You enjoying this?
Yeah!
It's pretty incredible, isn't it? I can't tell you. I mean, having grown up and usually when I'm in a conversation with somebody, I've seen Ghostbusters many more times than that. And this is the first time I'm in a group of people where I'm like, oh, I think you guys have actually seen this movie more times than I have. But anything that you're in love with, I feel like part of making what we call GB20, the next one, is a form of archaeology. You know, and it is oddly, in many ways, an archaeological film. And we are kind of looking through the past, and I've been asking myself all the time, what is it that makes it a Ghostbusters movie? What makes a Ghostbusters ghost a Ghostbusters ghost? And so getting to see this original footage has been extraordinary. It's been like, finding the hidden opening to a pyramid. And anyhow, this next set is particularly fun.
Mr. Smith, quickly, I want that door open now. Stand over there. Ghostbusters! I came, I saw, I came again. I
could use a cold one right now. It's all taken care of.
Well, what happened? Did you see it? What is it?
What a lot of fun. All taken care of. What a blast.
So what you had there was what we refer to as a focused, non-terminal repeating phantasm, or a class 5 full roaming vapor.
Let's talk fees and tortillas, please. Now, before we're going to have to ask you for $4,000, which is our standard fee. Now, it's the weekend and it's late. But for the entrapment, we're going to have to ask you for $4,000. And we're having a special this week on proton recharging and storage of the Spectre, and that's only going to come to another $1,000. So
$5,000? I had no idea it'd be so much. I won't pay it.
well, that's all right. We can just put it right back in there. Thank you.
We certainly can, Dr. Beckman.
No! All right. Anything.
Thanks ever so much.
Thank you. Send us a check. All right.
When did he say it? What was the first take he say? We came, we saw, we kicked some ass.
I wish he was here. I can't remember. I think it wasn't the very first time. I think it was something that one actually sounds like we actually wrote that.
Yeah.
And that he was resisting it and was trying everything else, which often would happen. And it was really one of the fascinating things where he would, most actors will start with the lines as written and then sort of keep pushing it. But he always felt free to really go any way, and he often would start way out there and my job was then to sort of bring him back into the center. So it could have gone any way.
Is that how you would say action? Would you go, Ghostbusters? It's so sweet. That's my dad's voice in there. He's yelling it at the door to cue them.
It is the Ghostbusters. It's time to get out. It just felt like the right kind of thing to do.
Do you know how far? You can feel their confidence. Do you remember if that was later on in the shoot or earlier on in the shoot? They just feel coalesced there.
We shot that in Los Angeles. That's obviously the Biltmore Hotel. But so that was later in the film. But they were this confident. I was talking about how cocky we were for the opening, and it's true. We felt this way. I mean, we had all made some pretty successful movies by then, and we knew that this was kind of an all-star group, all working together, and we were all kind of young. We were all in our 30s, and so I'm sorry.
It's okay, Dad. Well, I don't think there's any more appropriate place for me to take this evening, except to say that you're the greatest storyteller I know, and I am the luckiest son on earth, and I feel so intimidated to make this film, but I'm making it for all of you guys. But most of all, I'm making it for you. I love you, and thank you again for coming out tonight.